Hey guys, it's Alex from 7th Hour Films back again with My Hero Academia. Last time on My Hero Academia, I said that weird, but whatever, we had special episode, Save the World with Love. So we randomly took a break from our ongoing story of the Provisional License exam to jump back to a different story that took place before the training camp where Deku, Sue, Uraraka, Ida, Todoroki, and Bakugo all were on this team in a special class during the summer in order to stop a hostage situation. That's really hard to say. And there was a whole thing with suicides and love stories, and eventually they failed because they blew it by thinking the villain was actually dead when he was actually alive. And then we got to tie into the movie, My Hero Academia 2 Heroes, which we will be watching after this season. And then at the end, they were like, okay, that's that. You can go watch the movie, or you can watch the next episode, which will pick right back up with the Provisional License exam. So that's basically that. This is where I say no spoilers in the comments whatsoever. This is also where I say that if you want to watch my reaction to this episode of My Hero Academia, what you're going to have to do is go down in the description or to the pinned comment, click on the link there. That will take you over to the reaction. And when you're done with that, you can come back here for the discussion. How many times can I point at the table? So with that being said, let's go ahead and get right into this episode of My Hero Academia. Here we go. Alrighty, that is the end of the Provisional License exam. Man, just one episode off from the end of the Provisional License exam, and they decided to interrupt us. Man, but I guess it's better that way because, because if they did a cliffhanger like this, where we don't know who passed and who failed, and then they did the special episode, that would have been horrible. So, whatever. Although, I mean, they leave on a cliffhanger. But I don't think Midoriya failed. Because, remember, Midoriya had one mistake throughout the second round, Like, he passed the first round, and then the only mistake he made from the first round was when he first met the Huck person, That was it. That was all that was pretty much the only mistake he made. Other than that, he was pretty solid, actually. Meanwhile, Todoroki and Yoarashi, I'm going to try to remember Yoarashi. I grasped on the Inasa, but Yoarashi is the name everyone calls him. That's his last name. And we generally go by last names on this show. So, other than Deku, but yeah. So with the two of them, they made a huge mistake. And not only did they make a huge mistake, but they kept making it for a little while, When they kept getting in each other's way, So, oh man. I was kind of thinking that the battle with Gang Orca would last a little longer, but this all worked out, This all worked out. And, this does... It's interesting that this basically immediately finishes whatever beef is between Yoarashi and Todoroki. So, yeah. We can go ahead and hop into the notes on this one. The first thing I wrote down is unity. So this was interesting that they specifically got, new things, new requirements from... They said it was, I think, from the police, actually. The police... I think they said that. The police agencies were basically, they revised the Provisional License exam for heroes, and then now they have to follow that, which is interesting, And because of that, which we did sort of see that, after the defeat of All for One, we had the police saying, oh, we need to make some reforms. The police need to be a bit more active, we can't just rely on the heroes. We can't just be backup for the heroes, So I think this is part of it, honestly. And it honestly makes sense, everyone loved All Might. Everyone loved All Might because he was so great. And then the Avatar. All right, that's an Avatar reference. I don't need to keep going with that. But yeah, it's like, All Might, everyone loved him because of his personality. You can't say the same thing for Endeavor, Endeavor, if he is going to be the number one hero now, he is not All Might, which we also see as that affected Yoarashi. So, yeah, so that's the thing, is that you can't... So, I like the idea of, we need... The provisional license exam is to see how well the heroes can work off each other, basically. How well they can work together. Because that's what needs... In order to fill the gap left by All Might, you need a ton of heroes to fill that gap, basically. So I like that this is going to be about unity, which, in a way, Class 1A has down. Class 1A has that friggin' down, Other than maybe Bakugo and Todoroki. The two of them are, kind of loners, The two of them are kind of loners. They don't really work well with other people. But at the same time, Bakugo still has Kirishima and Kaminari, and Todoroki has worked together with, Midoriya and Ida, for instance, like with the Hero Killer. But also, he has worked with other people before, in a fight. So even the two of them, who are, kind of loners in their own rights, they still have worked with their classmates, So, and also, that was the whole thing of when Deku and Bakugo fought All Might, was they had to work together, So I like this idea that the provisional license exam is about unity among the heroes. So that was really cool. Which we also got unity between the schools in the second round, We had the scoring, which was interesting. So it was basically... Everyone started with 100 points, and then they were graded. They were basically docked points for mistakes that they made. And if you got below 50 points, you failed. Which makes sense, honestly, because, I mean, I don't know, what the grading system is in Japan, but, in America, sound like Bandit Keith, in America, but over here, the general grading scale, is an A to F grading scale. A being 90 to 100, B being 80 to 89, C is 70 to 79, D is 60 to 69, nice, and F is fucking everything else, basically. That's what F stands for, is fucking everything else, basically. Little known fact. But yeah, now the thing is, with this grading scale, 60 is the minimum you have to get to pass. Here it's 50. Close enough. Who honestly cares? So I just thought that was interesting, because when the provisional license exam, when round 2 started, they didn't say how they were being graded, and that showed, that gave the extra challenge, basically, to the students to figure out, okay, how are they grading us? We don't know, but we have to be on our top game because we don't know how we're going to be graded. So it's interesting that once they actually show how they're being graded, it's honestly a pretty simple grading scale. Now, they did also say that not only are the Huck members that are in the arena grading them and docking them certain points, but every person has a specific judge in the stands, and they are also grading them. And they're all being graded on their mistakes, and eventually it will all be compiled into one grade, which will determine if you pass or fail. So I like that. That was pretty interesting. I wrote down Ornicus, Orpheus, Dorpheus. Anyway, so that was pretty interesting. Just Gang Orca's powers is that, he can do anything an orca can, but on land. He reminds me a lot of Captain Selkie, actually, from Sue's internship. So that he's pretty cool, I gotta say. And it's interesting that he said, hey, if this test had kept going, I don't know if it's possible we could have actually lost. Now, I do like that they do specifically say that Gang Orca is wearing restraining gear, So it's the same thing with the practical exams from the end of Season 2, where, the teachers were not going all out. Did Deku and Bakugo actually win against All Might? Hell no. Hell no, they didn't do that. All Might was wearing half of his muscle weight in those, in those weights, basically, He was nowhere near his top speed, and even then, they barely beat him. So I like that they say that here, too, that there is some restraining gear on Gang Orca, so he doesn't give 100%, Because if he was giving 100%, he probably could have wrecked them, honestly, But I like that he says, if this had kept going with the two of them, sort of weakening me and Midoriya coming in for an attack, we might have lost, honestly, So that was pretty cool. And then we've finally got, what the big deal is between Yoarashi and Todoroki, as well as pretty much why Yoarashi didn't go to UA, because he wanted to. He was the best. He had the best recommendation basically, and the highest scores and everything in the practical exam, and he wanted to. He wanted to go, but it was Todoroki that basically put him off, basically. And it started with Endeavor, that, he was such a huge fan of all these heroes, but when he wanted an autograph from Endeavor just slapped him away, because of course Endeavor did that, And that's the thing, is that, that was back when Yoarashi was a kid. Man, if he met All Might, do you know how much All Might would have been glad to do that? That's the problem, is that you can't... It's almost like everyone should know this about Endeavor, is that he's the number 2 hero, but he honestly kind of sucks. Like, it's the classic saying of don't meet your heroes. I mean, which even All Might, we had a bit of that, in the first episode of Don't Meet Your Heroes, because that was back when All Might was like, oh, if you don't have a quirk, you can't be a hero. But then he got better, He got better. He was inspired by Midoriya in that episode. But yeah, with Endeavor, it's the classic saying of don't meet your heroes. But honestly, if you're going to meet any hero, you should meet All Might, because All Might is still your hero, So that was unfortunate. But I like that it wasn't just that, because I was starting to think, like, okay, is it like he hates Endeavor, so he then hates Todoroki? And it's like, well, that'd be kind of weird. But it's not just that, but it's also that Todoroki was off-putting, He reminded Yoarashi so much of Endeavor, So I understand that, honestly. I do understand that. That is very unfortunate. So yeah, it's like... And honestly, because that's the thing, that was back when Todoroki was a lot different, He's honestly had a lot of character growth over the course of this show, So Yoarashi doesn't know the current Todoroki. He just remembers... the one that, he just remembers the one that was off-putting in the exam, And it's interesting that Todoroki didn't even remember him. Like, it took him so long to remember him, But he said, like, I was so consumed by the hatred for my father, that bastard. So, but they did settle their differences, basically, and come together for a big fire tornado, which was pretty cool. Because, I was honestly thinking, like, okay, it's like, he can make heat, he has air, it's like, well, if you put hot air and cold air together, that creates a tornado. I'm from Tornado Alley, I know how that works. If you put hot air and cold air together, that makes a tornado, so I was like, oh shit, they're gonna make a tornado, but not just a tornado, a flame tornado. Like, that was awesome. So I did like that. And it was also interesting that, while that did weaken Gang Orca, it didn't beat him, and that's where Midoriya had to come in, And I like Todoroki saying, it's like, every time Midoriya does this, He always does this, so I like that. And it was Midoriya who pretty much knocked some sense into them, like, what are you two doing? You cannot be fighting during this, So, and we also had, Todoroki is able to use both sides now. He can use his left and his right side, which is pretty cool. He's at least getting better with that. So yeah, and then that was the end. And I do like, they say it's like, oh yeah, that was a bit anticlimactic, but it makes sense for a test, honestly, that it was a bit anticlimactic. So that was okay. And then, yeah, we are left on a cliffhanger as to who passed and who failed. I'm pretty sure Midoriya passed. Todoroki and Yoarashi, they're a bit different. We'll have to see. But yeah, I'll be curious to see how many of Class 1A is actually going to pass. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Very excited to get into the next episode, which we will be doing next time. So with all that being said, I'm Alex from 7th Hour Films, and I will see you guys next time. Take care. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. If you want to watch more of my Hero Academia reactions, you can click on the playlist, you can subscribe if you haven't done that already, and be sure you hit that notification bell. You can support me on Patreon and follow me on social media, links below in the description. See you guys later. I have to sneeze. Oh god. Ugh.